Bitch!
Welcome to the Unimaginary Friendcast. This is live stream episode number 304. It's a conversation with your best friends, and we are your best friends.
I am Nathan Vaughn Edmondson.
I'm Erin Marie Betty Davis Jr.
And I'm DavidMonster.com.
And today we have an episode that is going to be very important because it concerns the entire world. So not all of our topics are so widespread, but we're going to go through the facts of the world right now and determine whether or not we are headed to or already in a World War III. So it's a pretty good topic, I would say.
Huh.
Would you not agree, fellas?
It sounds interesting.
It sounds dangerous is what it sounds like. It sounds very dangerous.
Well, by the end of this podcast, we will have determined what World War III is or isn't and when it will happen or won't happen. So I think you should stick around. And like I said in our social media post earlier, suggest you start digging your bunkers or not.
We will let you know. We'll get through this together.
Or we won't.
Oh, it's going to be juicy. And it's also late, so I apologize to all of our East Coasters. Thank you for hanging with us at 10 o'clock at night. I know it's bedtime, but we're raging.
It's just snack time for us.
I got yelled at by my mom because she couldn't stay up until 10 tonight. So
she couldn't stay up until 10?
We're down a listener.
What is she doing? But what time does she wake up in the morning?
Like 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
Cool.
Oh my God.
Let's move into our breaking news.
Oh God. See how hard this is? This is like so hard.
For our podcast listeners, David is struggling to put up the graphic.
What else is
It's so hard.
All right. Who wants to go first?
For our podcast listeners, David's talking about his
difficult.
Oh no.
It's so hard. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Who wants to give their breaking news first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I had my 3-year wedding anniversary.
To who?
This one.
That post went viral too. Thank you, everyone. Nobody cares about anything else but that picture.
Yeah, it's personal.
Yeah. So
important.
They're trying to rub it in my face.
I'm so in love.
You guys are still so in love?
Mm-hmm.
Are you more in love today than the day you got married?
It's 3 years of bliss.
That's a good question, David. And I would say yes.
It's so different now. We've created life.
Did having a child bond you together or drive you apart?
I think it's bonded us together. I can say that without looking to see if you'd say the same thing, but I think we would.
Yeah.
Well, it helps that you guys both like your child.
So far.
So far than TikTok, Cora.
I mean, if Cora becomes like the next Jeffrey Dahmer, then I won't be liking her that much.
Ugh, we started to watch that series and I had to turn it off.
Why?
Anxiety.
Why did we start watching it? Or
why would you start watching it? Why would you watch that?
That's a good question. And why does anyone want to watch the details of a serial killer? All the cases and then there's a fascination there, right?
There is.
Because they're crazy. They straight up crazy.
I'm guilty of that, but I don't know why. I think it was making me uncomfortable as I was watching.
It's like a morbid curiosity and also could I figure out how to get out of that situation? It's almost like educating yourself to like train your brain to not trust crazy people.
Well, don't go on random hookups.
We only watched the first episode. It seemed like, it was just like going home with.
Yeah, don't go on random hookups with someone. If you talk to him for more than 5 minutes straight, you can see that he's crazy. So talk to him somewhere else. Go to a cafe, and then you see like, this guy's crazy. This guy's crazy.
Crazy. All right, that's my news.
Yeah.
So you want to go next?
All right, I'll go next. As you know, on the very first podcast, I revealed that I don't identify as human. Well, I'm finally transitioning.
To what?
Human.
To a celestial being, and my new pronouns are everyone and everything, and lesbian. And if you don't get my pronouns right, I will go ape shit. That I have no patience for people who even make a mistake on my pronouns.
Even though you're a celestial being that knows all.
Yeah.
Do you know then what my news is going to be?
Wait, just because I'm a celestial being doesn't necessarily mean that I know everything, does it?
I don't know.
I would imagine
you guys are so racist against celestial beings.
I would imagine that, like, the celestial being mean that you're disembodied.
It means that I am of nothing and of no one.
So I would imagine that you're not restricted by the limitations of these flesh bags that we're stuck in.
Exactly.
Which means,
but I'm connected to everyone and everything, and
so
lesbians.
So you must know.
Okay, well, cool. We'll see. Congratulations for coming out. I know it was National Coming Out Day yesterday, I think. So
thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So I had a bit of a rebuttal from our beloved listener.
From a beloved listener who see, I know what she's gonna say. Keep going.
If you listened last week, you know that David went on an absolute rampage at the end of the podcast trying to explain the marriage or how two of our listeners came to be married and fall in love. And he went into great detail about how this love connection happened. And the listener immediately sent me a long email explaining what actually happened. So I will first say that David's story was quite inaccurate. And the actual
inaccurate?
Quite.
I got the major points of it. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't think you got really any of the points right. Aunt Josie was at a party with another guy, and there was a man looking at her from across the party, and that was
which I said,
and she left, but she never forgot him. And then fast forward 20 years later, they were looking through pictures to remember that. She goes back to the picture, and they just discover that he was actually the guy that was looking at her. She's like, I never forgot you. And it was like this cool connection after they had already been married.
Okay, yeah, I forgot the already married part. But other than that, I got it. I got it right that she was a mean girl who thought that everyone wanted her, which everyone did. She was the most popular girl in school.
She was not a cheerleader.
She was in her cheerleader skirt. What was she then?
It was like a costume thing.
So they didn't have an interaction then. Initially.
They did not have an interaction.
Oh, I thought she flat out rejected him.
Oh. Well, she's one of the the mean girls in high school that everyone's after. Like, she rejected the room. You know what I mean? She walked in, she was like, like, because that's Aunt Josie.
That a large majority of men are just too scared to say anything to any girl they're interested in.
Yeah, in high school, yeah. And plus they were rival school, like he went to a different school and stuff.
Yeah.
They went to she went to the backwards dance. She went to the backwards dance with someone else and then went to the party in her cheerleading skirt. Aunt Josie, are you on right now? Because you were in your cheerleading skirt. I remember that part of the story. Go ahead, yeah.
The story continues that she was furious with you for getting the story wrong. So she sent me a whole bunch of really incriminating photographs of you when you were young. And I'm only going to share one today, but
she's the Aunt Josie literally is the worst. But
if you misbehave, I'm going to pull up more of these. But here's the first one.
Oh wow!
Look at him.
Who's that? Who is that? I don't recognize
Look at that hair.
Oh my god! All right, that was taken after that was taken in the summer. I don't know if they still do that with senior pictures. That was taken in the summer. I spent the whole summer at my aunt and uncle's house on the beach, so I didn't get to get my hair cut, and my mom didn't tell me. And then I got home, and then she's like, "You had to go over your pictures," and I was like, "Fuck!" And I was a long hair, and that was a very bad time to get long hair. Like, look at my hair; it's ridiculous.
It looks awesome.
I know you're kind of a stud, David.
Kinda, totally is.
Look at that. That's a model. That is a magazine model right there.
That's hair to die for.
Seriously,
Well-
that's like you would see that. You would choose that on a board at a salon. Like, I want that. I want the David Monster.
Well, at the time, it was very bougie. It was very basic bitch.
Well, it's like,
But thank you.
yeah. But I have a whole bunch of other ones. So be good,
Okay.
David, or
Yeah,
I'm gonna
let's-
whip them out.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
god.
blackmailing David live on the air.
Oh wait, we have a comment. We have a comment. What's it gonna say, do you think? Here. This is what it says.
Mood brooding.
Yeah. Oh, the mood brooding.
Very
Very
much
Wait,
so.
I don't get it. What does that mean?
Your picture, you were brooding in your
Oh, I was modeling.
scene. Exactly. You were being unobtainable. Unobtainable.
Unobtrusive. I was being unobtrusive.
All right. Our gold star for this week. David, who is our gold star?
Our gold star. Oh, I'm picking it.
Not Justin Bieber.
So yeah, okay. Justin Bieber was in contention because I don't know if everybody knows, but he retired from show business, which thank God. So whoever talked him into retiring, we were going to give them the gold star.
Wait, he
And
actually
then-
retired?
Wait, what?
He actually retired?
Retired from everything, but I'm sure that he did, and I'm sure he'll come back. I'm sure it's just a whatever. It's stupid. Our number 2 spot was going to go to the people of Los Angeles for rallying against those racist council city members, and they were 3 Latinos. And Latino groups across the city are coming out against those Latino people, calling for their resignation. So that is amazing for them to say that, because they're saying that they're giving Latinos a bad name, which is amazing. But our number 1 spot goes to who, Aaron?
The very, very generous Alex Jones, who, out of the goodness of his own heart, is going to be paying all the Sandy Hook parents $1 billion.
Oh, so much money.
Like, what a sweet gesture for all.
That's awesome. And he just decided to do it out of nowhere.
Just decided. Yep.
$1 billion.
Wait a minute. Actually, that was a judgment. Is that the biggest?
It's like 986 million or something like that.
Is that the biggest judgment against a single person?
It's not a single person. It's like a lot of families filed against him.
But
So-
against one person.
Against.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Very good question.
I think it is. I don't remember hearing of a judgment that big before ever.
Just for the record, so I'm not canceled. Alex Jones is a piece of shit, and I'm just joking.
And tell everybody who Alex Jones is, because I don't know him by name, but once you said.
He's a conspiracy theorist, and he made a shit ton of money. He just telling lies of all sorts. But this particular one, it was like the day after Sandy Hook happened, which was 20 kids were killed, like young kids. He was saying that it didn't happen. It was fake.
It's a red flag operation.
All the parents were paid actors. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. And all the families since, not all the families, some families received threats. And they were
death threats.
Yeah. It's freaking heartbreaking. He caused so much pain in the worst situation you can ever imagine yourself in.
At least one.
Oh my God.
Had to move over 10 times or something like that.
That's
because
crazy.
They kept on being doxxed online and people knew where they were. Also, what's weird about Alex Jones's case is he kind of rose to fame online. And YouTube caught, at least YouTube, maybe other social media platforms, caught a lot of slack because part of his fame and why he gained such an audience is because he was being recommended so much through the YouTube algorithm. Like, if you like this video, then you'll like this. And he was just he was like the go-to for certain things and generated so much money for YouTube and obviously so much money for himself because he was able through that reach to just pull more and more people into his web of deceit and conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do this alone. He had a lot of help from his listeners, his supporters.
And it's mainly white conservatives for some reason. I don't know why because I guess they're fighting against gun control and they think, I just don't, whatever. It's just so, it's unfathomable. Like, that thought process is stupid and ridiculous, whatever.
And we wonder why we're potentially headed to another civil war, because these are the people that we're up against, like, you know, comparing values. It's like, how do you even like reckon with someone that's an Alex Jones supporter?
But today's topic isn't about civil war.
It's not. What is it about?
World War III.
I don't know.
World War III.
World War III, baby.
So I can I start?
If you want to.
Because I just want to talk about like what the hell World War actually is, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole of information about that, and it was kind of interesting that it's like the name World War is usually given in retrospect. So it wasn't until after World War I anybody called it a world war, and the same with World War II. And after that, it seemed like anytime we were headed into a conflict, like Cold War, all the things that happened in that era, and after, everyone was like, oh, is this World War III? Is this World War III? You hear it all the time now. But you know, during 1 and 2, it was just like there is a war happening. But now we coined them 1 and 2, and so they were saying like World War III, like we won't even really know. This is a theory, like until after the fact, or potentially in the middle of it, but we're not going to be able to be like World War III starting next week. You know, we're going to know when it's over, like, oh yeah, that was World War III. Holy shit. Or maybe we're in it now. Like, we're going to talk about that more.
Wait a minute. The title of this episode is Welcome to World War III, so we called it already. So
Did we?
go
Wait, I
ahead.
thought we were deciding that. You're being...
All right, we'll decide by
just
the
give
end.
the end away. Oh, geez.
Sorry. Do you know what they called World War I at the time? Do you know what like the press and the media and people started calling World War I at the time?
No, I don't.
Was it the Great War?
Some people call it that, but they would say that it was the war to end all wars.
Oh, right, yeah. Which, it was so bad. Like there was such trauma caused on humanity that we would wisen up.
Yeah.
And you agree with?
I feel like a world war now and nuclear war are just kind of one now. When you imagine a world war, it's always nuclear Armageddon. I mean, like Biden even said it this week. So can we even have a world war without nuking each other? I think that's a question
that'd be awesome.
I know that only 9 countries have nukes, and there's like 15,000 of them apparently. Russia has the most, even though we spend the most amount of money on it. And a third of those, so 9 countries, so 3 of those countries, I don't know who the third one is, are in active deployment, which means in a snap of the fingers, we can just nuke people. So I imagine that's Russia. I imagine that's the US. I don't know who the third one is.
China?
I'm sure it's China, yeah. Wait, who are the other? There's 9 countries. Can you name all the countries that have the nukes? I know India has.
Go.
I don't have that written down.
I know India has it, and fucking Israel has it.
North Korea?
Yeah.
Well, they're not supposed to have it. But I actually heard a report.
Right? Doesn't Iran?
Well, they're trying to develop it.
They're trying to.
Not there yet.
Wait, you said that Russia has more nukes than the United States, and I actually heard a report on this.
They have the largest arsenal.
That we used to have more, but then we said, okay, we're going to get rid of some of them because it's unethical. Like our government said, we're going to get rid of a whole bunch of the nukes so that it reported less numbers. It's like, come on, for real? Really? Come on. Really? Yeah. What? Where did they go? Where did you put them? Come on. Right.
Apparently we spend more money on our arsenal than all the other countries who have them combined.
Yeah. I'm sure.
And there's one other thing that I thought was really interesting that I came across, that in 2017, the UN tried to put together the Treaty of the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which was trying to bring countries who have nukes together to sign a treaty that they wouldn't nuke each other, and everyone declined, including us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it's like, what are you going to do? I mean, it's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
And it was supposed to include all countries that don't have nukes, like that are developing or interested, flirting.
Everyone
with
wants a nuke.
Yeah.
I mean, Ukraine, I'm sure, wants a nuke at this point, or wanted a nuke. Like, if they had a nuke, do you think Russia would have invaded?
I don't know. I don't think it would have if they were part of NATO, which is kind of like having a nuke.
All right, David. you have more, Aaron?
No, that's all for now.
That's a
But I
good
have
start.
I have a cool
Yeah.
story later, so stay
Ooh,
tuned.
Oh,
David's hair.
the bitch is going to tell the story. Okay, I have reasons why it will happen and reasons why it won't happen. So we're going to start with reasons why it will happen. Okay, before, I don't know if you guys know the history, but before, leading up to World War II, Hitler got his alliances in order. He allied with Italy, he allied with Japan, and people don't know this, but he allied with Peron in Argentina, who the second phase of the war, after he won with Italy and whatever, he was going to take over South America, and Argentina was going to run it, Japan was going to run Asia, and I guess Italy.
Apparently Hitler is alive in southern Argentina.
Well, he was alive in southern Argentina. You know, people joke about that, but they never found his body. And Israel, not only the United States, but Israel had a task force of people after World War II up until the 70s to watch Hitler, to look after Hitler. And Israel, the Israeli government has admitted to that they had a task force of people to watch after, to keep an eye on Hitler and keep an eye on other Germans in South America.
I know there was a lot of Germans that went to Argentina. I was joking about Hitler, but maybe not.
Oh, dude, 300,000 Nazis went to Germany. I mean, to Argentina. 300,000. Yeah. 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 And in fact, after World War II, Stalin claimed to have had Hitler's body. So everybody's like, okay, Hitler's dead, Hitler's dead. They did DNA testing on it. It turned out to be a woman, a 30-year-old woman's body. So maybe not. Okay. So yeah, he allied everybody, which, hello, we're going to see the parallels in a minute. And then he invaded Poland. And the world went crunk. Okay. So his allies are China, who wants Taiwan and other areas of Asia.
Who's allies?
China.
Whose allies are these?
Russia's ally.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was like, Hitler?
Oh no, sorry, Russia's ally. Putin.
Okay.
Yeah, now Putin's ally.
Got it.
They have an uneasy alliance, but they have an alliance because they want Taiwan. And I don't know if you know this, but China owns Africa. Do you guys know that?
Investment in Africa, yes.
Not only do they have a lot of investment, 3/4 of the African countries owe them a great deal of money that they can't pay back.
Well, that sounds like the United States.
Okay.
All right. And then North Korea wants South Korea, which is another ally of Russia. Venezuela wants to take over South America, which is another ally of Russia's. And Iran wants to control the Arab world.
Are they an ally of Russia?
They're strategic allies. So they
stuff.
But we're going to go into more of that later, because Iran is not allied with Saudi Arabia, and we're going to get into more of that in a minute on the other list. Okay, Russia owns India.
Really?
India has been under Russia's wing for a long time. And India wants protection. India is afraid of Pakistan. And India, I don't know if you know this, but India has said that they are strategic allies with Russia, that they are very close. That's their closest ally in the world. The Indian government has said that.
Interesting.
And they have the 3rd largest army in the world. Okay. The UAE wants control of the Middle East along with Saudi Arabia, and they have described their relationship with Russia as a strong strategic partnership.
They're a little peanut country.
Saudi Arabia recognizes Ukraine, but is also a strong ally of the UAE. But the UAE, and this is go on the why it might never happen, the UAE has gone into talks with Israel and And Israel is an unconditional ally of Russia.
How is that?
So
possible?
that's the statement they made. They're unconditional allies of Russia.
I thought they were with the U.S.
Oh, fuck Israel. Straight up, fuck Israel. They have said that the Israeli government has said this a number of times, that where we lead, the United States will follow, which has been the truth for so far.
Okay. I don't know anything about this. I cannot comment.
So anyway, so the world is in the same condition it was before World War II.
Okay.
Anybody want to speak on that?
I just don't know enough.
What do you mean it's in the same condition, in that like people are divided up equally and wanting to beat each other up?
Well, they openly want to take over parts of the world that we, the West, don't want them to take over. Like, we don't want Taiwan to go to China. We don't want South Korea to fall to North Korea. But these allies, China, North Korea, and Russia, want those things. And China, that's why China supports Russia in this war, in the Ukraine war. They're like, yeah, take Ukraine because we want Taiwan. And we're going to see how this goes.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right in that we're in a position where people, obviously with the invasion of Ukraine, these countries aren't allowing other countries to remain as they are. They're actually, there's efforts being made, and papers being rattled, and intentions being spoken. So it doesn't look good.
And it's sad that it's the countries. I mean, America, the idea of America is that it's a free country. Whether it is or not is whatever, but we definitely have freedoms that they don't have in Russia or China or North Korea. 100%, absolutely. I would consider us freer than those countries. It's weird that China, South Korea, and Russia, the three of the most oppressive countries, want these things. Like, they're still going for this colonialistic, invasionary. Yeah.
Are you saying that it's dated? Their attitudes are just dated?
Yeah, they're ridiculous. It's so stupid.
I mean, people just want power, and they want resources, and they want land, right? So totally. China has this vision of Taiwan. That was part of the Great China, and it needs to be part of the Great China again. And do you think, like Putin, what Putin said, that when Gorbachev dissolved the Soviet Union, it was the saddest day? So like his aspirations are to, have something as great as the Soviet Union again.
Yeah.
What's his name? Kim Rocket Man?
Kim Jong Un. Yeah.
Is he Jong Un? Who was his dad? What was his dad's name? Kim
Jong Il.
Okay. I mean, yeah, they're like the loose cannon.
Like literally?
Yeah, shooting.
Totally.
Yeah.
Japan.
So why do you think it won't happen?
Well, I do want to say the thing before we get into that, I want to say that the way to fight these wars, I don't think is to fight these wars. I think it's to appeal to the people of China, Russia, and Korea, because we're seeing in Russia, and this is actually on the list, we're seeing in Russia, they're protesting like they have never protested before. They haven't gone against their government like this, and mass exodus from their country of people that don't want to fight. And there's reports continuously that the reason they're not doing that great in the Ukraine is the Russian army is not that enthusiastic about this war either. So the way to fight these wars is to appeal to the people of Russia, is to let them know that we're on their side. And I think that the United States should issue a statement to the Russian people saying, if you want to overthrow your government, we are there to help, give you resources.
That's going to start World War III.
I think that they will turn on their government like that if they knew that someone was behind them.
That's also if they could get that message through.
I would imagine
these countries have state media,
That's true.
I mean,
it's true.
It's also like the people, we're just talking about the average Joe who works a 9-to-5 job, for example. What can they actually do except for take to the streets? And they're putting their lives at risk in that position. I imagine anyone who is in a position with the political power to actually organize a coup of some sort to overthrow Putin, I'm sure they're all already aware that they could be backed for that potentially. But who's the crazy person who's going to take over?
I mean, there's a lot of very brave people on this planet. Like you see what's happening in Iran now with the protests for the women not wanting to wear their hijabs, and like there's a lot of very brave activists that start these movements and actually make a difference. So
and it's a very low number of people. If you could get 25% of the Russian people to revolt, they could take over the country, because then it would then just be a cascading. Because I bet it's less than like 2% of the people that are actually protesting and taking to the streets and stuff like that. Because that's still a huge number. But if you could get up to 10 to 25%, you could take over the country easily. I mean, I shouldn't say that's flippant to say easily, because people are going to die and people are going to be killed and tortured. And
I also, yeah, I mean, I've heard that there's a certain amount of people who, let me see if I can remember this correctly. In something I read, it was talking how, we see the fall of the Soviet Union as such a great thing, but people who lived under that, and knew what it was like, often they'll look back at that with nostalgia, like that way of life or that time. So it's hard to know how. I just have no idea how many people would be motivated to actually try and overthrow their government. I mean, a lot of people talk smack about stuff, but actually to put your life at risk. And that's why everyone's fleeing, because they don't want to put their life at risk. So to ask them to stay and try and
totally, it is a big thing. It is a big ask. But people don't realize too. People think like, oh, America, like we fought for our freedoms and we did it. Like America, it wasn't America when we did it, and it was a very small percentage of people that planned the revolts and the revolution. It was very small, and then everyone else followed. Because a lot of people didn't want to do that. A lot of people were like, look, status quo, whatever. And it just turned the tide. The founding fathers and all that, it was a very small group of people. And it was at a time when you didn't have mass media to get the word out. Like they had to really work at that. So yeah, that's
actually pretty amazing that they were able to accomplish that.
Totally, especially when it would take days and weeks to get the word out. But that's what I would do if I had money. I would be propagandizing to the people of South Korea, Russia, China, and then
North Korea. North Korea.
No, oh yeah, North Korea, China, Russia, and then I would go to the Middle East countries and then Israel. Yes. So yeah. All right. So the reasons why it will never happen. If the U.S. is destroyed, if the U.S. goes to war and our economy tanks, China tanks along with it. China's going to have a really hard time. And if Europe, too, goes under, China will have a hard time with resources. And we've seen it before. Like Mao Zedong, I don't know if you guys know this, in the 70s, when he was having problems, he just let 25% of his people just die of famine. Like, he was just like, fuck it.
That's the thing with these dictators. Like, do they even care? Care?
No, they don't care. No, they don't care. They don't care.
Probably good for them. They have less people to take care of.
And Russia is already suffering hugely financially. They're suffering hardcore. They don't have the resources. Putin doesn't have the resources he said he did. Putin, like, if you see, like, it's funny because Ukraine is a very small country militarily wise, and they're kicking Russia's ass mainly because their army isn't enthusiastic and because Putin doesn't have the resources. And if
their leader is respected and loved, like people love Zelensky.
Yeah, no, totally. And they're free. And they talk about it. When you listen to Ukrainians, they feel like they're free, whereas Russians don't. And I talked to 4 different Russian people on different nights here that were in America, working in the computers and stuff, and they knew. They were like, God, I wish we could stay here. Like, we want to leave Russia so bad. And they would tell us horror stories about what it's really like. And they were like, yeah, it's worse than you think. And not only that, the police are against you and the government is against you. Like, they're not on your side. You don't call the police. You don't deal with the police. You don't deal with the government because you will always lose.
Yeah.
So that's wait, what?
That sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible. So if Russia won, like if we went to war and let's say Russia and China won and even North Korea, like, I think it would be a turnaround really fast because their resources would be horrible. Like, they'd be crumbling. It would just be anarchy after that, I feel like. And I think they know that. Russia knows that if they went to war against the United States, even with China, it's going to be bad for everybody. Nobody's coming out of it. Nobody's just going to be intact if there is a World War III.
We're not
Nobody.
even talking about nukes. We're talking about economies.
Yeah. Even if the nukes aren't used, and if the nukes are used, if there are like 5 nukes, even just 5, and there's a lot more nukes now, but if 5 nukes are dropped around the world, everybody's fucked. Like, everybody's fucked hardcore. There's nowhere you can go on this planet that you're not going to have severe health issues.
Unless they're all dropped in the same place.
Even then, if 5 nukes, the power that they have right now, are dropped in the same place, you give it 2 weeks and it spreads around the world.
Oh, do you remember that? Do you ever read that book On the Beach?
Oh,
No.
There was nuclear war,
yeah.
and everybody nuked each other, and it took place in Australia, and it was the last place that people were surviving before the cloud of radiation came. So it was just
Oh my God.
following people in the time,
Just
the
waiting.
last 2 weeks they had before they were all going to die for sure.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, it's dark. There's a movie too.
Dude.
Yeah, I've only
Because-
heard-
Never forget it. It was very impactful for me.
Because one more thing I want to tell you guys so you can sleep well tonight. I don't know if you guys know this, but the nuclear weapons we have now are 300 to 3,000 times more powerful than the weapons dropped on Japan.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And
Because that killed like 140,000 people.
yeah, and another thing, part 2 of this, those weapons were detonated in the air above the cities. They say if the nuclear weapon hits the ground, it does something like an astronomical amount of more bad damage. And then those areas that it hits are unlivable for hundreds of years.
That actually kind of brings me to my story, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. You want to tell your story? Yeah, and then I guess we'll end with the reasons why it won't happen. Go ahead.
Did you know that there were two atomic bombs fell in North Carolina?
Yeah.
I did know this, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy story, which I didn't know because it was during the Cold War. They had something called Operation Chrome Drome, where at all times B-52 bombers were flying around day in and day out, 24 hours a day, each one carrying 2 nukes, like just ready.
Really?
Yes.
That's insane.
So that takes place in North Carolina at Goldsboro, but it was happening at other bases too. So of course, like, you have planes flying 24/7.
That
like,
seems dangerous.
yeah, well, yeah. So one of them malfunctions and crashes. There's 2 nukes on board. One, thank God, there's apparently like at least back then there were like 7 different mechanisms that had to be deployed in order for it to explode. But one fell out in a parachute and got caught in a tree, and the other one actually flew into the ground.
Wow.
The one they recovered both of them. None of them detonated. The one that was in the ground, I guess, had a whole bunch of its mechanisms still in place. But the one in the tree, all 6 out of 7 were unlocked. So it was like that close to blowing up North Carolina.
Oh my God. And why are they flying around North Carolina?
That was just where one of these bases were. There was numerous ones around the country.
But it's so dumb. It should be on a base outside of the continental United States with a clear shot to Russia or something, not in South Carolina.
I couldn't believe when I heard that because I was like, there's so much room for error.
So were they positioned in such a way that they could just fly to Cuba at a drop of a hat?
I'm not sure who they were.
Cuba. Yeah, that makes sense. Cuba. But put them on islands. We have a bunch of islands. Put them on islands off of the continent of the United States. But I don't know if you guys remember this during one of our Mind Blower podcasts. We revealed that about a dozen nuclear weapons have gone missing since the nuclear age. Do you guys remember that fact?
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess nuclear weapons aren't as big a deal as we thought they were.
All right, David. So why isn't it going to happen? You have your short list.
Okay, yeah. So that's one reason. Okay. The people aren't behind Putin. We already said that. Most of the people, and I don't know if you know this. There's reports. Well, I don't know how true they are, but there's reports from inside the government that he's losing support within his own government and the people that have backed him. I don't know how true that is. We can never know how true that is. But I can just imagine, because Russians are all about strength and strengthen their leaders, and he looks like a bitch right now. He just doesn't look good. You know what I mean? Like
to the world, but he's.
Yeah.
He needed a different picture to his own people.
No, but the people that support him within the government know better what's going on. So they would think like, God, this guy's a little bitch. Like we thought he was strong and he's just fucking not. And I didn't realize how little he is. He's 5'7". I didn't realize that.
Tom Cruise.
And oh my God, he is the Tom Cruise of world leaders, Nathan. Did you realize that?
I just like, yeah, I saw that picture of him at, what was it, some event that he was at, and he was like on both sides had other men next to him, and he just looks like a little peanut.
Yeah, he's a tiny little peanut.
I heard someone, I think a comedian, say that like all the world's problems would be solved if some men were taller.
I completely agree.
Oh, totally. Yeah, there really is a short man complex.
Yeah.
And yeah, CB Actor Traveler says free Brittany Griner. I thought someone said that she's going to be free in a month.
That's not true. So Biden's still. So there's some big conference or something taking place soon, and he's refusing to meet Putin, which was potentially another opportunity to negotiate that. But no, she is not free.
And Brittany Griner, she's one of, I think, at least two or three. There's two or three other people who should be freed as well, who are like civilians caught up in this bullshit.
Yeah, I mean,
they just don't get the publicity that she's getting, sadly.
Yeah.
Wait, why wouldn't Biden meet with fucking Putin? This is the time to meet with him.
You can ask him. I'm not sure.
Biden's a little bit of a bitch too. I'm sorry, but he is.
But that's always been the thing. Like until Trump, it was like we're not going to talk to these dictators because they don't share our values or whatever.
No, but you should always talk to people you're at war with and be like, "You're a little bitch. Stop it. Like, stop it. You're a bitch, and we're gonna fuck you in the ass, bitch."
I told you
to slap
David, you've got my vote.
Thank you. Slapping. Don't you think I should slap Putin across the face? Don't you?
Sure.
Don't you?
I thought that was already in the works. We decided that for some reason that everyone would get slapped.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe gets slapped, and it would take how long? We decided. Try to figure out how long it would take.
It would take 31 years or something.
Really long time. Like no breaks. 31 years of no breaks. Just
with no breaks. So I got to start now, people.
I don't know how many years it would take for your hand to fall off.
And CB Actor Traveler, I do agree that they should free Brittany Griner, but I do want to give her a little bit of a smack too. If it's true that she was traveling with marijuana, is that true or is that not true? Because I'll smack myself if it's not true.
She just said that she packed in a hurry and didn't realize it.
Shut up. People who smoke pot are fucking stupid. Shut up. All you people who smoke pot, shut up. Just shut up. I packed in a hurry. They always fucking say that. Even Paul McCartney said that in the fucking 70s. Go ahead, what?
I think part of it was it her? No, it was the other story. It was someone else who was using cannabis for back pain relief, and they got caught for the same offense.
Oh, shut up.
It was like
shut up.
That had helped him after, years of trying other stuff. But whatever. I mean, it's such a travesty that's
totally. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they held her, and it's ridiculous it's against the law. But it's also, you shouldn't be traveling with pot. You shouldn't be.
Not to Russia, not to this.
Not to anywhere. You shouldn't do it anywhere. Because it's not legal even everywhere in the United States. Just don't
All
do
right,
it.
David, you've lost my vote.
Sorry. Wait, here.
Lost my vote.
No, go ahead and smoke all the pot you want, but just don't travel with it because it's against the law in a lot of places.
I tend to agree with you, David. I don't like it's so not worth it. Like if anyone like, loves it so much that they have to put it in their bags, it's like you're kind of an idiot. Not to say that she is or whatever, but
and you can get it everywhere. But I agree with you, CB Actor Traveler. Free Brittany Griner.
We're gonna have World War III about cannabis right here.
All right, wait. Are you on cannabis right now? Are you on the cannabis?
When am
are
I
you on the pot? All right, here I'm going to get to reasons why. Okay, one of the reasons why it's never going to happen is because now stay with me on this. The possibility of blind propaganda doesn't exist like it did in the 40s. People are more savvy. The people, even of America, if we went to war, would not be as enthusiastic as the people in the 40s were. We would question everything. There would be a lot of backlash. There'd be protesting. Nobody, I don't think anybody in the world, except for maybe North Korea, because they're afraid they're going to die. They're more afraid of their government than they'd be of going to war. Nobody's going to be enthusiastic about going into this war.
Now, like you're lucky if you can get 50% of the country to think anything.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, send all the white Christians who...
No matter what, like we get into a war, one side is going to be opposed to it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can unite us unless we have 9/11 again. But again, they'll find fault in whoever's president at the time.
No. Oh, yeah, exactly. Whoever's president at the time will not have the other one's support no matter what it is. Even if it's the most righteous, perfect. Yeah, you're right. So... No, I don't think anyone around the world is going to be enthusiastic about going into this war. Like, you're just going to get the hardcore army people, but that's a very small percentage of people. Like, in America, in the 40s, you couldn't talk against the government or against America going to war. People would shout you down. But now, I think that there'd be so much talk against it. It would be, yeah. Okay, we got that one. We got that one out. The UN condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and 37 countries voted for it. Only 5 countries voted that they shouldn't go, that Russia shouldn't do it. And do you guys want to guess who the 5 countries are?
China.
No.
North Korea. Taiwan.
Yes.
In the UN.
Oh, I don't know.
Right?
France.
No.
Zimbabwe.
No.
Australia.
No.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, it's Belarus, which is one of their allies.
That was my next guess.
Which is lame. North Korea, you got
Korea.
Eritrea, which is ridiculous. Yeah. Syria, which fuck Syria, frankly, and Russia.
Why are we even voting? Like, why are we voting? Like, it's a war.
I know, it's so stupid. And India, what did India vote?
They held their tongue.
India abstained from the vote. Straight up, fuck India. People are like, India's wonderful and it's spiritual. And
if everyone voted against it, it doesn't matter. Like, he's still going to invade. Why would they hold a vote?
No, I know. Well, they're trying to talk him out of doing it. But he's like, I'm doing it anyways. It's stupid.
It doesn't matter if he has no support.
No, totally. But that just goes to show you that his only support in the actual people coming out was very little, and it's very stupid countries, idiotic countries.
Agreed.
The only outspoken, enthusiastic supporters Putin has right now are India, North Korea, and Belarus.
Nice. Like,
China is his ally, but they have said little things that are not 100% in support. I think that when it came down to it, I think they might be invading Taiwan at some point.
Yeah, I think that seems inevitable.
But I think they're going to see what happens there. And the number 2 reason why it'll never happen, do you guys want to guess what that is?
No, I don't want to guess.
All right, I'll just tell you.
I know why.
Why?
Because they're too busy playing Russian roulette.
I didn't think of that. That's a good one. I'll have to add it to the list. No, the number 2 reason is Donald Trump thinks there's a possibility of World War III. And when did Donald Trump ever get anything right?
Okay. Is there a number one?
I honestly feel like Donald Trump would be the only leader that we have that would get us into a World War III.
Yeah.
And I think that there's ways in which he is smart, but I think he's just so careless and reckless and not smart in enough ways where he would do some big move just because.
I
agree with you. And he does not care about the American people at all.
That's for sure.
So I have some. Are you ready for my my revelations?
Okay, and then after your revelations, we'll give them the number one reason why it will never happen.
Okay, so I have two things that I want to cover. One is maybe we're already in World War III.
Oh, explain.
We won't know.
Maybe it's already happening. See, you've already solidified. Like,
yeah,
they didn't know World War II was happening until like at least a few months or years into it, and they're like, "Wait a shit, we're in World War II."
Yeah.
So that could be what's happening now. So, because they always go back, like, what was the moment? What was the catalyst that started World War III? I mean, would that have been Putin invading? Like, that could have been the start of it. And beyond that speculation, that kind of loose idea, we're putting so much money into helping Ukraine. We're basically fighting this war with
money.
Yeah, we just don't have feet on the ground.
That's why I don't understand why Russia hasn't declared war on us, because we are just fighting them.
Yeah,
so not with our troops.
Well, I think the trouble and what keeps a lot of these things from happening are the fact that we're so interconnected and they're so dependent. We have so many sanctions on them. I don't even know what relationships we still have. Well, what's crazy is not only are we spending so much money and giving so many resources to Ukraine, right? We're basically like giving them all of our intel. Like they're knowing what to do, but we're training them. But all of Europe and the West, we're all still buying oil from Russia. So we're basically funding their war by buying oil. It's still like
great.
Biden cut back and then everyone got really mad because gas prices went up.
But speaking of Iran, as they so I forget what the group is, coalition of oil people, oil countries. They recently met, and I think Iran runs it, or they're one of the main contenders. But they're all voting to increase the cost or reduce the production, I believe, so the cost goes back up. So that's like we're to start feeling the effects of that soon.
So like, stupid.
Yeah.
I'm buying an electric car the second I can. Anyone who capes a gas car is a fucking idiot. Anyone who buys their next car, gas car. I do want to say though that we're giving funds and we're training the Ukraine. So what does that mean is going to happen next? What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. What does it mean? Soon we'll have.
If we're giving them money and training them, they're going to turn on us in the future. Everyone does.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so there's that point aside. Now here's my conspiracy theory. Like, is Putin a mastermind? And it goes a little deeper than we think. Because one thing that was kind of flopped around for a while was like, why didn't Putin do this when Trump was president? Because Trump wouldn't have resisted. Would he have just stepped aside?
He said he wouldn't. Yeah, he said he would allow it.
So why didn't he just do it then? So maybe the plan, Putin's master plan, was to wait, see what happened. If Trump would have been back in office, bam, go. We're ready to go because we know we got Trump. We got 4 years of Trump, speaking our talking points. See what happens with the election. Biden wins. Okay, I need to strategize this, but set it up in such a way so that we can make Biden look bad so that he loses to Trump in 2024, and then we're good to go. So it's like the war has been kicked off with Ukraine to create the conditions for Trump to be reelected in 2024, because everyone's going to be so upset about all the inflation and everything going to crap, so that when our election comes back around, Trump will be back for 4 years. And that's when all these countries will go for it. And then Trump's on their side. So it's like, well, wait a minute.
That we'll have to wait and see. In 2024, we'll either say that you're right or you're wrong. Because that's true. Like Trump would try to ally with Russia and China and North Korea, and
he's already signaled so much, right?
Yeah. CB Actor Traveler has 2 really good comments. Does the UN have any power or influence? I don't think they do. I don't think they've gotten anything right. They haven't had any influence on Russia.
If they think it's a good idea to hold a vote as to whether or not Putin will invade a country, and they think it'll make a difference, then no.
Yeah, totally. And NATO is also heavily involved. It's true. And does NATO help the world at all?
Well, they help each other.
Yeah, like nobody can. Yeah, people who aren't a part of it don't give a shit about it.
Well, NATO was formed to resist. Wait, was it formed to resist the cold? Was it, when was it formed? Was it formed right when Soviet Union broke apart? Right? Isn't that when NATO was formed?
No, it was formed right after World War II, I believe.
Okay, so but there was like. What I'm trying to remember what I read. It was something like we had no need for NATO once the Soviet Union collapsed, and now everyone's like, oh crap, maybe we do still need NATO to keep things, because that was like the last thing that was keeping us, keeping NATO as like a necessary thing.
Yeah, it was formed in 1949, and what I learned was that it was formed to keep peace in Europe and to keep them all allies, but Russia was a dick, and that's when the Cold War kicked off. Russia's a dick.
Yeah.
Russian people are great, but they get behind these shitty ass leaders. They need to turn on their fucking leaders. They need to turn on them hard.
All right, David, what's the last thing that's going to keep us out of World War III?
Any of the listeners want to guess what the number one reason that'll keep us out, and it'll help you sleep tonight? It's very self-assuring.
The interconnectivity of our cultures. An
interreliance.
It's like global trade, basically, is going to keep us safe.
That is one thing for sure, because that is one thing that's a huge argument, because we have interconnectivity like we've never had before. China in the 70s and 80s used to have a completely separate economy. Like they weren't doing well, but now they've become a superpower since they use our dollars. Our dollars help make them a superpower, and I wish that they would get it straight. That's why I don't understand why Russia didn't follow China in that. China became this production superpower, and Russia could have done the same thing, because Russia was very poor, like leading up to. That's why the Soviet Union crumbled, is because they were not doing well, and they could have become a production powerhouse. Russia and China, if they were smart, could have run the world. If Russia became a powerhouse too, they'd both be way better off than America, because we lost all of our production to China. And it's true. Any war that breaks out bigger than it is now, and everybody's going to suffer. The people who win the war are going to suffer the hardest, I think, too, because they're going to have to try to control everything, and it's just going to fall apart. It's going to be like the Roman Empire towards the end, when it was too spread out.
Yeah.
I think that's almost the number one reason, but there's a reason why that's more important and is more assuring.
Go.
You don't want to guess what it is?
I'll guess. Climate change will destroy us all first.
Stop guessing.
Aaron, you don't want to guess? You're the voice of reason.
We want to go.
The number one reason, and every scientist, every political analyst on every side has turned to this, has talked about this, and has really got behind this in support. Everyone in every country, every continent, whether they're pro-religion or anti-religion or anti-communism, even pro-democrat,
what is it?
Is the number one reason is that lesbians are pissed. They ain't having it. So if they don't get behind it, it's not going to happen.
NATO is also heavily involved.
That's an older comment.
So don't you guys feel better now?
Is NATO involved with lesbians?
NATO is run by lesbians.
What?
NATO's, and that's why Russia is such a bad place, is because they deny lesbianism and they jail lesbians, and lesbians run free. We don't know where they are because you can't see them, but lesbians run free in the democratic countries. And in Ukraine, I wonder how many lesbians there are in Ukraine and if they're running the show over there.
That's a really good question. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I don't think we've decided if it's happening or not, but we did lay out a lot of interesting points. What do you guys think?
Well, why don't we all give we'll all give our what's the word when you
vote?
Give our when you say what will happen, predictions. Why don't we all three of us give our predictions of what will happen?
I don't think that there'll be a world war.
We're already in it.
Okay, David?
That's your prediction? I think there will be skirmishes here and there, but I don't think there will be an all-out world war because they all know, unless like King Jong Un, King Jong, there's no way to say it, unless a crazy person like him that just like sends a nuke, and I think he would send a nuke under certain circumstances, and I think Putin is sick, and he might send a nuke, but I think it'll de-escalate really soon because China will step in and be like, stop, this is stupid. So I don't think there'll be an all-out World War III skirmish. I think there'll be little skirmishes all over the place, like Ukraine, and they'll unfortunately, Ukraine will probably lose part of its territory. Taiwan will probably fall to China, but I don't think we'll get into all-out world wars. We'll just like chip away at things. I think it'll be a chipping process for the rest of our time on Earth. What do you think? Do you think that's right?
Some madman decides, gets a terminal diagnosis and decides to take everyone down with him.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
On that note, everyone, thank you for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Make sure you follow us at Unimaginary Friend. We post when our next live stream will be on Facebook and Instagram. And we've also been doing a lot more stuff on Patreon. So if you're not a patron, we'd love for you to sign up, get some cool merch, see some interesting content that you may not see on social media.
Yeah, Patreon. Just stick with it, people, because we're all in this together, and I hope you feel better. But for now, beat it, bitch!